Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum viewers. My name is Abdullah Malik and I am a foundation level student at the School Islamabad Barakat campus. Today I am doing AI session with my Maya AI on the topic of Shhh. So let's start. Hello Maya, can you hear me?
Hi, Daniel. Nice to meet you. So, what's on your mind today?
What does the word Shh symbolize beyond silence?
That's a beautiful question. You're asking about how sounds that aren't words, like a sigh or even just the quality of someone's voice, can carry meaning beyond what they actually say. I think it's all about the emotion and context, right? Like if someone says okay with a certain tone, it can mean so much more than just, well, okay.
How how has the meaning of silence changed over time?
That's fascinating, actually. Historically, silence wasn't always valued like it is today. In ancient Greece, for example, it was more often associated with embarrassment or a lack of wisdom. But over time, particularly with the rise of things like monastic practices, silence became almost holy, a space for contemplation. Now, it's super complex. Sometimes it's awkward, sometimes respectful, sometimes it's just people having nothing to say. What got you thinking about this?
Why do humans use "shh" as a social signal?
I'm not quite catching all of that. Could you say it again? It sounded like you were talking about social signals, maybe about
Why do humans
audio
use
got a bit
"shh"
choppy
as a
there at the end.
Why do humans use "shh" as a social
I'm s-
signal?
I'm having a hard time understanding what you said there. Something about humans using what sounded like she as a social signal. Could you try phrasing that differently? I want to make sure I understand what you're asking.
Why do humans use "shh" as a social signal?
Okay. Shh. Right, that makes sense. So, shh. It's pretty universal, actually. It's basically telling someone to be quiet, but it's more than that. It's this instant way to communicate. I want silence right now. Maybe someone's trying to concentrate, or there's a secret, or a baby's asleep. It's amazing how that sound travels across cultures and same thing everywhere. We use it to show care or maybe even control, but it all comes down to wanting silence for some reason.
Is silence always a form of control?
That's a really thoughtful question. I don't think silence is always about control, but it definitely can be. Sometimes it's strategic. Just waiting to see what you're thinking about.
How does culture influence the key of being quiet? Idea of quiet.
Ah, I'm not quite following. Could you say that again? The connection seems a bit choppy on my end.
How does culture influence the idea of being quiet?
Oh, got it. You're asking how culture shapes what we consider appropriate quietness. That's a really interesting area. Some cultures value quiet contemplation and see extended silences as respectful or thoughtful. Think maybe East Asian cultures. Others are much more comfortable with lively banter and might see long pauses as awkward or unfriendly. What got you thinking about this specifically?
How was silence used in ancient societies?
I'm hearing you say August silence used in Asian cultures. Are you talking about when a leader might deliberately choose to remain quiet to project authority or power? That practice is definitely common in some East Asian leadership styles, where silence can be perceived as a sign of strength and deep consideration rather than insecurity or disengagement. It's often seen as more respectful than interrupting or rushing to fill every silence with words.
How silence ever been a tool of power?
That's a beautiful way to put it. Silence as holding this immense potential, this quiet power within. Like everything you need is already contained in that stillness. Does that feel connected to what you were thinking about Asian culture?
Why do different cultures interpret quiet questions?
Are you asking why different cultures have different rules around interrupting or what counts as polite conversation? It's a good question. There's so much that influences it. Like some cultures really value directness, so jumping in to clarify or make a point might be expected, but in others it's considered rude to interrupt and there's more value placed on listening and waiting your turn. It also depends so much on context. A business meeting versus hanging out with friends. What was making you curious about this?
How was technology changed our relationship with silence?
That's a big one. I think technology has completely flipped the script on silence, hasn't it? Before, silence was just what was left over when nobody was talking. Now it feels almost uncomfortable, like we're supposed to fill every gap with notifications or music or podcasts. Our phones have made us almost allergic to downtime, where we might actually have quiet moments to think or just be. Have you noticed that happening in your own life?
Why is silence more powerful than words?
That's a question that philosophers have wrestled with for centuries. I think there's something about silence creating space for reflection, for things to really sink in. Words can be rushed, manipulative, or just flat out inaccurate, but silence, and in that space, people have to interpret what isn't said, their own feelings, your intent. That can be much more revealing than anything you could actually articulate. What makes you think silence feels powerful to you?
How does tone affect the meaning of
Everything. We can say the exact same words but with different tones, and it can completely change how it's received. That's great, said with genuine excitement, is totally different from saying it with sarcasm. Our tone conveys so much more than just the words themselves. It signals our emotions, our sincerity, whether we're joking or serious. It's almost like the tone carries the real message.
How can silence create misunderstanding?
I'm not quite catching what you said there. Could you maybe try that one more time? It sounded a bit broken up.
Can silence create misunderstanding?
Absolutely. Silence can be just as confusing as unclear words, maybe even more so. If someone you expect to respond says nothing, you might read all sorts of things into it, that they're angry, disapproving, or just don't care. The silence itself becomes the message, but it's totally open to interpretation. That can definitely create misunderstanding when people aren't reading each other well. Have you ever found yourself overthinking someone's silence?
Why do children learn the meaning of shh?
You were asking why children learn the meaning of silence? I think that's a really like, young observation, actually. Kids are really good at picking up on emotional cues in their parents or caregivers. So even before they understand words really well, they're reading facial expressions, body language, and picking up on the energy in a room when things are quiet. When you combine that with how caregivers react to quiet in certain situations, they start to understand the social rules around silence pretty early on.
Can silence be used to surprise voice?
I'm having trouble with the transcription again. Could you repeat that part about silence and separating voice? I'm catching bits and pieces, but not
Be
getting the
used to
whole message.
surprise voice?
Okay, are you asking if silence can be used to highlight someone's voice, like creating a dramatic effect? Yeah, absolutely. It's like anticipation building up before someone speaks. If everything's quiet and then one voice cuts through, it immediately commands attention. Storytellers use this technique all the time. Same with music. That quiet moment before a song drops can be more impactful than the loudest part. Makes the voice stand out more, doesn't it?
Is telling someone to be quiet always negative?
Hmm. That's a thoughtful question. I don't think telling someone to be quiet is always negative, though it often carries that tone in English. Sometimes it's out of respect, like when you tell someone to quiet down in a library or a church or during a performance. Those aren't negative situations, they're actually about consideration. But yeah, most of the time it can feel really dismissive or controlling, especially if it's used to shut someone down. What makes you ask that?
Can silence be a form of resistance?
That's actually a really interesting way to put it. Can silence be a form of revision? Like, taking a breath, you were going to say. In a conversation, it feels like that pause lets you edit yourself, right? If I think it definitely can be, it's a mental reset, a chance to adjust before you continue.
Is true silence possible in today's world?
I'm not quite sure what you mean by that. Could you say it again? Sounds like you're talking about something that's too far away or maybe something that's happened too late. What's on your mind?
Is true silence possible in today's world?
Honestly, I doubt it. We're just constantly surrounded by noise. from traffic and construction to notifications and background chatter. Even if you're in a seemingly quiet place, there's usually some hum of electricity, a distant siren, and then there's just the internal noise too, our own thoughts and worries. Complete, total silence seems like a thing of the past. But I wonder, maybe that's okay? Maybe it's not about finding perfect silence, but about finding moments of enough quiet to reset.
How does social media affect silence?
Social media has basically eroded our ability to be comfortable with silence, hasn't it? It's designed to constantly grab your attention. Infinite scroll, endless updates, notifications popping up every few seconds. It's like we've trained ourselves to feel anxious in any downtime, as though we should always be consuming or creating content. Real silence, just being alone with your thoughts, can feel awkward or even unsettling after hours online.
Do people fear being unheard online?
Yeah, I think a lot of people do. Being unheard online feels like disappearing when so much of our social validation comes from likes and engagement and staying in the conversation. It's like, if you're not posting, you don't exist. So even quiet moments can feel scary because that constant visibility becomes this weird form of self worth. Must be really isolating for people who feel like they're invisible in the digital world.
How has content noise impact human thinking?
That's huge. All that constant content noise is totally overwhelming our attention spans and cognitive abilities. Our brains aren't wired for this relentless stream of information. We're constantly switching between tasks, never really focusing deeply on anything. It weakens our ability to think critically, to reflect on our own thoughts, or even just to be perpetually distracted, which isn't great for actual thinking or creative ideas. Makes sense why so many people crave quiet now and then.
Can silence help in self reflection?
I think you meant self. Yeah, absolutely. Like silence is almost essential for genuine self reflection, right? Like when all the external noise fades away, that's when you can actually hear your own thoughts clearly, process your emotions, figure out what you really think about things. That inner space is where you connect with yourself in a way that just isn't possible when you're constantly busy or distracted. It's like you can't find yourself if you never let yourself be alone with your thoughts.
How can someone learn to be comfortable in silence?
Probably meant comfortable, right? Learning to be comfortable in silence is a skill, I think. Maybe start with small moments, taking a few deep breaths before reaching for your phone when you're bored, or turning off music during your commute just for once. Can feel really uncomfortable at first, like your brain's going into withdrawal. But the more you practice it, the easier it gets. It's like learning any habit, you start small and build up over time. Have you ever tried that intentionally?
Will silence become more valuable in the future?
I'm here, just waiting whenever. Are you saying really? Silence will become more valuable in the future? If so, I agree completely. We're getting so oversaturated with noise that real quiet, true disconnection will probably become a luxury people actively seek out. Like people pay extra for meditation retreats or quiet cabins in the woods. The ability to disconnect might become more valued than constant connectivity. Does that sound right?
Can silence become a luxury?
Absolutely. I think it's already happening. Like wellness retreats that advertise digital detox or soundproof rooms designed for total quiet. As noise pollution gets worse and attention becomes scarce, the ability to find genuine silence will probably become rare and valuable, something people have to work to create and protect in their lives. It sounds almost dystopian when you put it that way, but I think there's something to it.
So this is my conversation with Maya. I hope you like it. We will meet in another topic with Maya. Take care of yourself. Allah Hafiz, Pakistan, Zindabad.